if anyone is feeling lost, confused, angry, they don't know where to go in terms of the state of the world at the moment, this video is for you. You found this for a reason, because that's where I am at the moment. This is my first proper video on this channel in about like maybe 2 weeks. If you've been following my YouTube shorts, you know that I'm taking a bit of a break from politics at the moment, and we'll get more into that in depth in a minute. But I just kind of felt like I needed to make this video, because if there's one thing I always strive to do, regardless of what we're talking about on here, you know, normally, as I say, I sit down and I do my makeup and I talk about politics, whatever's going on in the world. I just haven't felt like I wanted to do that recently, but today I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit down, and whoever is feeling how I'm feeling, I want to help that person, because that's something I always strive to do in my life. So here we are, welcome back to Playing in Politics for a slightly different episode today. So as I say, I've been taking a bit of a break from politics at the moment. The world at the moment is very, very dark. Events recently, which we'll get into, have meant that hope has shriveled a little bit in my mind, and anxiety has taken over. And as much as that's also just stuff that's gone on in my life recently as well that's contributed to a bit of a mental health slump, politics and things just have not helped at all. And I just wanted to... We are going to talk a little bit about some of the things that have been happening recently and my takes on those in a little bit more detail than I have been doing on my YouTube shorts, but I wanted to also just be honest and say that, yeah, I've been really, really struggling with my mental health recently. Anxiety is something that I've struggled with on and off throughout my life in different ways, in different scenarios, triggered by different things, but this is probably, this phase of my life, which I'm kind of just getting over, is probably the worst that it's ever been. I had what can only be described as my first like mini panic attack a couple of weeks ago. I don't really know what caused it. I guess there was just a lot of baseline anxiety that was going on in my body at that time, and yeah, I had the racing heart. I felt like I was gonna either faint or be sick. I wasn't sure, and it only lasted for a few seconds, and I was able to sort of calm myself down. Thankfully I wasn't alone as well, even though I didn't actually say anything, because again it kind of just faded away after a few seconds, so I didn't really feel the need to be like, hey, I'm not feeling good. But it was scary, and I think that was a moment where I was like, okay, this is... something in my body is not right. And that was literally right before the videos of the Ukrainian girl getting killed on, I think, some people say it was a train, some people say it was a bus, I'm not sure. It looks like a train to me, but because it was in America, I'm not entirely sure. I know that they can look different to what they do in the UK. So the Ukrainian girl who got killed in Charlotte, that video will not leave my mind ever. I think that is permanently ingrained in my brain, and I think that is for a lot of other people as well, at least for the time being. It was the fact that, yeah, she was killed by a black guy, which, as we know, in the US is something that happens quite a lot. Violence and crimes committed by the black community, which of course we don't hold the entire black community to that. There are some great black people who support the things that we do, who, you know, have their heads screwed on right, but especially, as I say, in America there's an awful lot of black violence. Sometimes it's black on black violence, but in this case obviously it was black on white Ukrainian. The fact that she was surrounded by other black people, and this has to be said, the fact she was surrounded by other black people and the fact that they all got up and left her to die, left her to bleed out. They saw what happened. They saw that she cowered up and that she was afraid, and they could see there was blood on her leg. I'm sure we've all seen the video. And the fact that they literally just didn't say a word, just got up and left, kind of awkwardly shuffled away and they left her to bleed out is something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime. It genuinely had me thinking, where have we come as a society? And then, of course, a few days later, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And again, it was just so much horror that happened in 1 week in the space of a few days that the human brain should never have to process, isn't prepared to process that kind of like secondhand trauma. I cannot imagine what the people who were there are going through right now. His wife, some of her posts have been popping up on my social media feeds. Just tragic videos, and the fact that he was killed for views that aren't even that extreme. There are way more like controversial right-wing commentators, especially in the US. The stuff that he was saying was just rooted in a very, very strong faith. And something that has been happening, I didn't really know who Charlie Kirk properly was until he died, which is such a shame, and I feel like, yeah, it is such a shame. I should have known more, but because I keep so much up with UK, and this is something I've always said, is that, you know, the UK's got enough problems, trying to keep up with the US as well, so sometimes it's always been kind of a bit too much for me. But I have heard of Charlie Kirk, and I vaguely kind of knew who he was, and I could sort of get an image of the kind of things that maybe he stood for. And the fact that now my feed is constantly full of clips of Charlie Kirk when he was still alive, and him debating and doing the Charlie Kirk show, and the love that he shared with his wife is just beautiful, and their 2 kids as well, who were there. Like, his 3-year-old daughter was there and was running towards him because she was scared of the noise, is a kind of grief that is so unique as an outsider. Again, I cannot imagine what they're going through right now as a family. Erica, you know, when she came out with her video, was like, how do I explain that to my kids? You know, they're so young, how do you explain what's happened? Again, it's just, I say it's unspeakable. We need to speak about it. And again, you know, all the videos that are coming across now of Charlie when he was alive and the kind of things that he believed in, and how gentle and calm he was, and civil and decent he was, going to college campuses and talking to people who hated him, who are so brainwashed and ill on the far right. And this is something that has come out from his death, and sort of the fallout from that, and the reaction that we're seeing from both sides of the spectrum. And it's there's a couple of things that are coming to mind when I think about that, about the reactions. There are the people who were laughing about it at the time, who were celebrating it on X. The amount of disgusting tweets that we got on X when he got assassinated is something that enraged me in a way that I never thought was possible at the time, and still does just thinking about it. But in a way, the next one along is worse. It's the people who said, yeah, I'm sad for his family, but he was a racist, a misogynist, he condemned abortion, he, you know, like, I can't grieve a bad guy properly. Like, yeah, of course it's sad for his wife and his family, and, you know, yeah, he shouldn't have, like, you know, we don't wish death on anybody, but because he was Charlie Kirk, because he said things that they didn't agree with, it's okay. The amount of people I came across with that viewpoint, again, it was a new type of rage that, yeah, I just had to keep in. I was ranting to my friends about this who were on my side of the spectrum, and this is another, like the next one along from that was the people who maybe were on the left and maybe who disagreed with everything that he said, but understood what his assassination means for free speech, means for America, and what it shows about how we've, like, where we've reached as a society. Those people I am so proud of. Those are the kind of lefties that you can actually be friends with. Those are the kind of lefties that, if they were debating Charlie Kirk, then yeah, they would have been like him, they would have been civil. Even though they disagreed with him, they would still have been civilised and calm and would have just had a normal debate like a normal human being. Even though maybe I don't agree with some of their views, like Charlie probably wouldn't have done. Those are the type of people that kind of give me that little bit of shred of hope in terms of the lefty side of things. And then the next one along from that is, of course, those who grieved. Those who are grieving. Because they fully understand. And listen, from the stuff that I've seen about Charlie Kirk, I don't agree with everything that he said as well. And I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian who believes that abortion is healthcare. I don't believe that we should be banning it entirely. There's a conversation to be had, and I do condemn abortion up to birth, absolutely, but abortion is women's healthcare. And even though I'm Christian, I believe that. Maybe that's because I'm C of E and we have kind of more lax views about some aspects of that kind of thing. I'm also somebody who doesn't believe in purity culture and like the modesty side of things when it comes to women. I don't believe in that kind of anything that is rooted in religion that oppresses women. No, I have never been a fan of, and I will stand by that. Do I believe in gender roles and marriage and kind of the timeline of when you get married, have kids, you know, all that stuff? Yeah, absolutely, I do believe in that because I think it's the most healthy for a family. I think it's the most healthy for two individuals falling in love. I think it's the most healthy timeline for a relationship. That I believe in. But some of the things Charlie Kirk was saying, okay, fair enough, I don't actually agree with, but I agree with a lot of what he said, especially with the stuff that's been coming up on my feed. I agree with a lot of what he said. This is where free speech is, and the most profound thing that he said as well, which a lot of people are talking about, is when he said that when we stop talking, violence happens. And I think that is the most important statement that any commentator has ever said, ever. And I'm so glad that it's come from him. Because unfortunately, he is now the example of that. This is the problem with the mentally ill left. This is how corrupted and brainwashed they are and how dangerous they are to themselves, to other people, and society as a whole. Because cancel culture, the way that the left are like, we have to cancel every single person that may have a view that we don't agree with, that is actually rooted in common sense, but they don't see that because common sense is something that has left their brain years and years ago, probably when they went to university, depending on the kind of people they hung around with and what societies they were involved in, and what universities they went to. But as soon as that left, that as I say, is cancel culture. If they can't cancel somebody, then they'll try and erase them. And again, that came from the people who were celebrating when Charlie Kirk died. Those are the absolute, you cannot save these people. Maybe you can talk around the ones who were like, he was a racist and misogynist, because maybe you could teach them that he actually wasn't. Maybe that's a 50-50 thing, you're not entirely sure. And even if you want to go there, you know, be brave, feel free. You know, if you want to disrupt the peace potentially, then go ahead. But this is what he stood for, and this is the message he was trying to come across, and now, as I say, he is the example of that, and it is a fucking tragedy. Because he really stood for free speech. He really, really stood for free speech. And unfortunately, free speech doesn't always operate correctly in this country, or even the US. Jimmy Kimmel getting cancelled by ABC being a prime example of that, for a joke that wasn't even that bad. He showed a clip where an interviewer was asking Trump how he was reacting to Charlie Kirk's assassination, and Trump just talked about the new ballroom that was getting fitted into the White House, which, okay, was a bit uncomfortable to watch, but the fact that he has now been, like, cut off air and suspended indefinitely, his show being suspended, is where free speech fails. Because that was a joke, and a lot of people going, oh well, he was unfunny, and you know, he deserved it. And even Trump said that. He did like a big post being about like, well, finally he had like low ratings, so he had good job he's gone. Hey, NBC, cancel the rest of them. That's the next step. Of course he was going to say that because it's Trump, right? And he's just going to go with like the angry route. But this is also what Charlie Kirk was standing for. Because it all encompasses free speech. Free speech, fundamentally, is everyone's right to have their opinion and express it freely without inciting violence. No matter what platform you have, no matter who you are, as long as you are not inciting violence, you are allowed to express your views and have them, and that is that. It is that simple. But unfortunately, as a society, especially recently, we've made it so complicated, and so you have to walk on eggshells to make sure that you'll still have a platform, or that you'll still even be around tomorrow, in Charlie Kirk's case, and Jimmy Kimmel in a different way obviously getting his show cancelled. So that's one aspect I wanted to talk about. And then the next one after that, the next biggest event after Charlie Kirk's assassination was, of course, September the 13th. I, at this point, had decided that I was taking a break from politics, and even though I'd said a few months ago that I was planning on being there, I'd learned some things about Tommy Robinson that I didn't like, and personal things as well and work meant that I just wasn't interested in going anymore, and I'm glad that I didn't. It was a triumphant day, no one can ever deny that. You know, Tommy managed to get Elon Musk on a video link, like live, and there was no glitches, and it was, you know, a good interview. He was interviewing him in real time, which again, fantastic. So many people were there. The glorious photos of the massive crowd were great to see. And, you know, the Union flags and everything going up around the UK, again, glorious to see. There's a few that are popping up in my local area, and, you know, there was a guy who even served at work today who had like a little Union flag lapel pin, which I thought, brilliant, mate. However, there were a couple of things that I was concerned about, especially after Charlie Kirk, and I think credit to maybe some security and the Met Police for making sure this didn't happen, but I was genuinely scared that something was gonna happen, like terrorists or something, like somebody trying to assassinate somebody, Tommy, shooter, car ramming through a crowd, something like that, because we've seen too many of those events over the past kind of 2 years maybe, and then obviously especially recently. Thankfully that didn't happen, but the couple of things that did come out from this that I do want to talk about. Tommy Robinson's a grifter, first of all. Make no mistake, I do not think he is a hero. I used to think that, and the way he was treated in prison was appalling, but the fact that now I know from the inside that if people are in his team, people who are around him, start to make their own platforms and have as much influence as him, especially if they're making money from it, he will cancel them immediately. He will silently try and get rid of them from his team and make sure that they never have a platform, because he is the only person in his mind who is allowed to be talking about this and associated with him. I've learned that from the inside. He is a grifter. The last time I watched a video of his, like a short clip of his, there was something about Bitcoin in the top of the video. Why are we supporting Bitcoin in 2025? Do we know how much energy cryptocurrency takes to make? Like, why? Seriously, why? And come on, Tommy, you're making enough actual money from the things that you're doing. You don't have to sponge people to be encouraging Bitcoin. Like, stop it, mate, stop it. I think he's incredibly important for this movement, do not get me wrong, and he has been great at highlighting this issue, but at the moment, I believe he is a grifter. He's turning into a grifter. And there are so many other new media platforms that are doing the same thing and who aren't grifting. So, there you go. And the second thing that came out, there was a couple of clips that I've spotted that circulated after that weekend. Which I'll try and find and put on the screen. I don't know if anyone else has seen these clips as well, but there's a woman, she is, I think, filming from what looks like a bit like a balcony of a flat, and she's filming on the road below of the protest, and there are a group of men who, I'll be honest, look like the football hooligan type that Tommy was trying to dissuade from acting like this, and I am disgusted that this kind of behaviour has gone on, despite, and to give Tommy his credit, yeah, he banned alcohol, he banned any kind of hooliganism from happening, and I'm sorry, Tommy, but this kind of thing still happened because these are the type of people that you get in your movement. I wish you could condemn it, but you're probably not going to. And essentially they had spotted this woman filming them and was chanting, "Get your tits out." Which I honestly stick to my stomach. And then there was another one that came out, same kind of people, football hooligan, Union flag donning, like which again, normal, obviously, September the 13th. And the people filming were a couple of brown girls. And yeah, they were essentially like chasing them through the streets and harassing them. Again, I'll try and find the clips if I can and put them on the screen, but I have never been more disgusted by people in this movement. It is so disappointing because this is the kind of thing, I mean, as Tommy was saying before the protest, we cannot be giving the media any reason to be calling us far right and misogynist and racist and all these things, and unfortunately you're gonna get people who don't care, who are that's just who they are, so they're just gonna be nutters and idiots and disgusting vile men because that's just who they are, regardless of maybe how much they believe in the movement. Underneath it all, they're just terrible people. There are people in this movement who care so deeply about what this movement is actually supposed to be about, which is getting rid and encouraging out ideologies that harm women, that say it's okay to rape young girls, grooming gangs are okay, cousin marriage is okay, child marriage is okay. This is the kind of thing we don't want in this country, and that's what the Stop the Boats and Raise the Colours movement is about, is keeping Britain true to British values, keeping it a Christian, like a country built on Christian values, and not turning it into a third world country. Because that is how we see countries fall. We do not want this country to turn into another Islamist occupation. Like, we don't want that, because that's just going to destroy this once great, great nation. That can be great again, but we have got to fight for it. And unfortunately, as I say, with me taking a personal break at the moment, I'm just kind of like watching everything go down, and unfortunately all I'm seeing is disappointment. And this is a time where we really need to cut out the bullshit, but again, we've got way too many people in this country who just want to abuse it. And that's just the truth of the matter. You can think what you want about me now, but I don't really care. Because that's how I see it. And I hope that some other people are seeing it like that as well. We've got to break away from, again, no echo chambers. Echo chambers never do anybody any good, whether it's the left or the right, or wherever you are. Echo chambers and just believing blanket statements and believing everybody believes the same thing because they say so, and not digging beneath the surface is how not to make this a successful thing. That's how to make it just like everything else. You've got to have nuance. When it comes to politics, you cannot, you have to be a critical thinker. You can't just follow the narrative, follow the crowd because everyone else is. You cannot do that. It is stupid, it is foolish, and it's how you end up brainwashed. Do we want to be like the left? Sorry, my camera died and because it's out of battery, so I'm going to film the rest of the video on here. I was basically done with what I was saying anyway. But do we want to be like the left? Because that's how they operate. That's how they end up brainwashed. We do not want to end up like them. Okay? This is not where we want to go. So where do we go from here? Again, critical thinking. Have your own views. You cannot succeed in anything, again, if you're just following the crowd. You've got to be your own individual person. And if anyone, as I say, like me, is feeling overwhelmed and they don't know where to go at the moment, that's what you've got to do. You've just got to step back. You've got to look at things, regardless of our outside opinions. You've got to look at things with your own two eyes and go, do I agree with this? Do I actually agree with this? If I didn't have anybody else telling me to agree with this, would I actually agree with this? Or do I want to actually, build my own set of opinions and views here in this little break that I'm taking? Because that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing, honestly. In terms of the channel, hopefully I'll be able to get back to kind of more regular content. I want to talk a little bit about Alex Belfield as well, because he's going through some stuff at the moment. And, I mean, actually talking about Tommy Robinson being a grifter, Alex, I used to think when he first got out of prison was a bit of a grifter, but now I'm like, I don't know, because he's been going through some stuff, and the way he's been reading out all the probation letters he's been getting and the way they've been treating him is a bit ridiculous. And I have to agree with him with a lot of the stuff he's been saying, and I've kind of been enjoying dipping my toe back into his content, so we'll have to see. I'm still not paying for his independent platform. That's something I will never do. But in terms of just enjoying his videos on YouTube and keeping up with his battle with probation has actually been really interesting, so there's that. I'm also going to Conservative Party conference in October, first week of October in Manchester. That, I'll be honest, is just purely for the social aspect, and I was talking to a friend on the phone last night, and we were saying this, we were going, you know, we're not actually going for the politics, we're not going because we're necessarily boohoo Tories anymore, because we're not, we can't be. We're so disgusted and disappointed with the state of the party and where it's got that we just can't. We can't bring ourselves to go, yeah, we're proud to be Conservatives, because we haven't been for years at this point, especially now that Kemi's leader. Like, we're just so fed up with it all, and we just feel so politically homeless. I mean, my friend unfortunately is a counsellor, so he has to have a home, but for me, I just feel completely politically homeless at the moment. I'm waiting to see kind of if Advance UK do anything, but again, I don't know at the moment. I'm keeping my Conservative membership purely for conference. That's the only reason I go, because it's the only time I get to see a lot of my politics friends. I've not been canvassing for ages. That's another thing we were talking about, as we don't want to campaign. There's nothing to really campaign for. And again, we wouldn't really want to if there was, because we don't really feel like we're proper Conservatives anymore, and it's not what it was. It's not what it was. I mean, conference for the past few years has just been a social aspect thing for me anyway, but even more this year, because there's no politics in it for me anymore. It'll be interesting, the kind of things that we get talked about in a way, but I suspect that a lot of the fun will just be happening like in the evenings, which will be nice, I suppose. And it'll just be interesting to see people I know, maybe network a little bit and just have a nice week off work. But apart from that, as I say, that's where I'm at. I love this channel, I love the way I've been able to build it up, and I will continue to do that, but it is what it is. So, hope you are all doing okay. Again, I really hope that I helped somebody out there who may be feeling like I am, and gave you a little bit of a direction to be like, hey, it's going to be fine, we do have somewhere we can go, but it's just a bit more independent, a bit more individual. Again, if you agree or disagree with anything that I've said in this video, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Again, hope you're all doing well, and I will see you guys in the next video.